Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll deal with disaster management. So a disaster as defined by the Disaster Management Act 2005 or DMA is a catastrophe or mishap or calamity or grave occurrence in any given area arising from natural or man-made causes or by accident or negligence which results in substantial loss of life or human suffering or damage to and destruction of property or degradation of environment and is of such a nature or magnitude as to be beyond the coping capacity of the community of the area. Then we define a hazard according to UNISDR. Then we move on to the types of disasters. Firstly, natural hazards, which can be geophysical, for the examples are earthquake, volcano, and tsunami. Then hydrological disasters, which can be floods and landslides. Meteorological disasters, which involve cyclone, storm surge, tornadoes, convective storms, and high winds. Then cold waves, heat waves, lightning or heavy rain, or thunderstorms basically. Then sandstorms, dust storms, and blizzards. Then we have climatological disasters, which involve drought, extremes of temperature, forest wildfires, glacial lake outbursts, and subsidence. And lastly, we have biological hazards like epidemics, or which can be bacterial, viral, parasitic, or fungal, and insect infestations like locusts, swarms. Now, moving on to man-made disasters, broadly we can categorize into accidents, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear. These four are categorized as CBRN. Then terrorism and warfare. And of course, along with that, small points on the relative number of injuries and deaths according to each type of disaster, the density and distribution of the population, environmental conditions, preparedness, morbidity, which can be injuries, emotional stress, and epidemic of disease, and also increasing in the indigenous diseases. We then move on to the core concept of this chapter, which is also a very important diagram, the disaster management cycle. It starts with disaster impact and response. And the response phase involves search, rescue, and first aid, field care, triage, tagging, identification of dead bodies, and then move on to the relief phase, which depends on the type of disaster and the quantity and quantity of supplies available locally. We then see the four components of distributing humanitarian supplies, that is, acquisition of supplies, transportation, storage, and distribution. We then see a small note on epidemiologic surveillance and disease control, and then vaccination during disasters. It's impossible to supervise, and vaccination leads to neglecting precautionary measures as a false sense of security. Typhoid and cholera vaccination must be avoided after disasters. Then, to prevent malnutrition, we assess food supplies, gauge the nutritional needs of the population, ensure daily food rations, and monitor nutritional status of the population. Then, moving to rehabilitation, firstly, we deal with the water supply. We restrict access to people and animals to the source of water. We ensure adequate excreta disposal far away. There should be no bathing or washing or animal husbandry in upstream water bodies. We need to upgrade and maximize the yield from wells. Next, we deal with food safety, then basic sanitation and personal hygiene, and of course, vector control. We then see how disaster mitigation influences events occurring in the health sector, and then we move on to disaster preparedness. Why? Why should we be prepared? Community members have the most to lose in an area when the disaster strikes their area, and of course, they are the first responders to the situation. Resources can be pooled most easily at this level, and sustainable development is best with community involvement. Then there's a small note on policy development, personal protection in different kinds of emergencies like floods, storms, hurricanes and tornadoes, earthquakes, clouds of toxic fumes. These take a lot of pages, but don't get overwhelmed. They're just basically the same thing repeated according to the situation. Then man-made disasters and disasters in India. So that's it for this chapter, guys. Hope this was helpful for your exam prep. Hope it made your life a bit easier. And thanks for watching. Any suggestions can kindly comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching once again, and see you soon.